Welcome back to the channel, Rare Coins History, curious minds and collectors alike, to the place where pocket change transforms into stories, and everyday coins reveal extraordinary secrets. Today, we're going deep into the life of one of the most recognizable pieces of American currency, a coin you've likely held dozens, if not hundreds, of times in your life, and probably never thought twice about, but after this video, you'll never look at a quarter the same way again. Because we're talking about the 1980 Washington quarter. That's right, a coin so familiar it's often overlooked. It's been used for decades in vending machines, laundromats, arcade games, and parking meters. But while most quarters are worth exactly 25 cents, a few special ones from 1980 hold a value that's almost too shocking to believe. So stay tuned, because we're going to unravel a mystery of metal, history, and minting mastery, and reveal how one simple coin from 1980 has been sold for a price that rivals a luxury car or a house. Now let's set the stage. The year is 1980. The United States was on the verge of a technological revolution. The personal computer was beginning to creep into homes. MTV was just about to launch. Ronald Reagan was campaigning for the presidency. Inflation was climbing, gas prices were high, and the economy was shifting gears. In the background of all these major events, the United States Mint was going about its business, striking coins, replenishing the nation's supply of circulating currency, and producing millions upon millions of quarters. But not all quarters are created equal. The Washington quarter has a rich history of its own. First minted in 1932 to celebrate the 200th birthday of George Washington, the design was meant to be a one-year commemorative coin. But it was so popular, so well received, that it became a permanent fixture, and remains the core design on the quarter to this day. Even with modern modifications. On the front of the 1980 quarter, you'll find George Washington's strong profile, facing left. Above his head, the word Liberty. To the left, In God We Trust. To the right, the year, 1980. And just below the neck, a small letter, the mint mark. That letter tells a big story. If it's a P, the coin was minted in Philadelphia, and 1980 was actually the first year the Philadelphia Mint used a P mint mark on quarters, making this issue a significant milestone. A D means the coin came from Denver. And an S indicates it was struck in San Francisco, typically for proof sets. Now, turn the coin over, and you'll see the iconic eagle reverse. A powerful, spread-winged eagle perched on a bundle of arrows, with olive branches beneath. A timeless symbol of peace through strength. Encircling the top are the words, United States of America, and along the bottom, the denomination, quarter dollar. It's a design so familiar we barely see it anymore. But when you look closely, and when you understand what to look for, this coin can transform from common to colossal. So, what makes a 1980 Washington quarter worth far more than 25 cents? The answer lies in three powerful elements: condition, mint mark, and error. Let's begin with condition. A coin's condition is graded on a scale from 1 to 70. Most coins in circulation are heavily worn, scratched, dinged, and dulled over time. But occasionally, a coin escapes the grind of daily use. It's saved in a roll, forgotten in a drawer, or collected before it ever touched human hands. These pristine examples, called mint state coins, can be graded MS-65 or higher, and that's when collectors start paying attention. Now, combine a mint state coin with a rare or important mint mark, like the 1980 P quarter, the first of its kind to bear a P, and the value starts to climb. But if you really want to strike gold, you need the last ingredient, a minting error. Minting errors are accidents, beautiful, rare, collectible. Accidents. Double dies, off-center strikes, missing elements, wrong planchets, or coins struck on metal blanks intended for other denominations. These quirks transform a coin from ordinary to extraordinary. One of the most valuable types of errors in Washington quarters is the off-metal error, where a quarter was mistakenly struck on a planchet meant for a different coin, like a nickel or even a foreign coin. Other valuable errors include dramatic off-center strikes, where the design is visibly shifted, and double dies, where the details of the design appear double due to a misalignment in the die creation process. In the case of the 1980 Washington quarter, one particularly rare variety features a double die obverse, where Washington's profile, the lettering, or even the date appears clearly doubled. Combine that with a high-grade, mint state condition, and a rare, P mint mark from its very first year, and you've got a coin that sends collectors into a frenzy. And here's the most exciting part: most of these rare coins were not found in elite collections or hidden away in treasure chests. They were found in pocket change, in bank rolls, in family heirlooms. They were found by people who knew what to look for, and were willing to take a closer look at something most others ignored. So, if you have a 1980 Washington quarter, especially one with a P mint mark, it's time to give it a second look. Hold it under a bright light. Use a magnifying glass. Examine the details. Is the lettering doubled? Is the strike slightly off-center? Is the surface shiny and unblemished, like it just left the mint? If the answer is yes, you may be holding something far more valuable than just 25 cents. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. Among the most elusive and valuable Washington quarters ever discovered, one rare 1980 quarter struck with a dramatic double die and graded at an exceptional mint state level was sold at a major coin auction. Its condition was pristine. Its error was unmistakable. And its value, that single quarter, one coin from 1980, sold for a jaw-dropping total of $190,000 United States dollars. Yes. One coin. One mistake. One unbelievable fortune. And here's the craziest part: there may be more out there, waiting to be discovered, waiting to be recognized, waiting for someone like you. Today, we're diving into the world of the 1965 Washington quarter. A coin that marked the beginning of a new era, and the accidental creation of one of the rarest errors in U.S. mint history. If you stick around until the end of this video, you'll discover how one specific 1965 quarter became worth more than what most people make in an entire year. Let's set the scene. It's the mid-1960s. America is booming, and so is its economy, but something strange is happening behind the scenes. The price of silver is rising fast, and it's starting to cost more to make coins than their actual face value. That's a serious problem for the U.S. Mint. Up until 1964, quarters were made of 90% silver. But as silver prices surged, people began hoarding coins, melting them down, and selling the raw metal for profit. It was like a modern-day gold rush, but in reverse: not digging in the ground, but pulling coins out of circulation. The government had to act quickly. So in 1965, for the first time since the 1800s, the mint removed silver from quarters entirely. The new quarter would be made of a copper-nickel clad composition, a copper core with a nickel coating. Lighter, cheaper, and with no silver content at all. And just like that, a new generation of quarters was born. The 1965 Washington quarter marked a critical turning point in American coinage. Now, you might be thinking, so what? They just changed the metal. But here's where things get really interesting. Transition years, like 1965, are notorious in the coin world. Why? Because change doesn't always go smoothly. Machines don't get retooled overnight. Human error sneaks in. And in that messy, chaotic in-between phase, magic can happen. In the case of the 1965 quarter, something did happen. Something almost unbelievable. You see, even though the mint officially switched to clad composition in 1965, a few leftover silver planchets, that's the blank coin discs, accidentally got mixed in and struck with the 1965 date. That's right. A handful of 1965 quarters were made of silver, when they weren't supposed to be. And those rare survivors? They are now some of the most sought-after coins in U.S. history, but that's only part of the story, because it doesn't stop at silver planchets. Some 1965 quarters were struck off-center, some were double-struck, and a few have odd edge reading or die clashes, all signs of minting errors that dramatically increase value. Combine a minting error with a transition year, and suddenly, what looks like a pocket coin becomes a treasure in disguise. Now let's talk about the design. The obverse of the 1965 quarter features the familiar face of George Washington, a profile that has become iconic since it first appeared in 1932. It's calm, noble, and timeless. Above him reads the word Liberty. To the left, In God We Trust, and the year, 1965, sits just below. Flip it over, and you'll find the heraldic eagle perched on a bundle of arrows, surrounded by olive branches. At the top, the words, United States of America, and below, $quarter. This design was in use for decades, and while it may seem ordinary to most, collectors know to look closer. Much closer. Now here's a crucial detail that many people miss. There's no mint mark on the 1965 quarter. Why? Because in an effort to prevent hoarding during the transition away from silver, the mint temporarily removed mint marks from all coins. That means quarters struck in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco all look exactly the same on the surface, but that creates a mystery, and mystery drives up value. You can't tell where a 1965 quarter was minted just by looking at it. And that adds a layer of intrigue for collectors. Because some mint locations may have been more likely to produce errors. Some planchets may have come from older stock. And in the chaos of this transition year, a few mistakes slipped through, and those mistakes are pure gold, well, copper and nickel, but you get the idea. So what should you look for in a valuable 1965 quarter? Start with the edge. A standard clad quarter should have a visible copper-colored core along the edge. But if the edge is solid silver, no orange stripe, you may have a transitional error, struck on a leftover 90% silver blank. Next, examine the weight. A clad quarter weighs 5.67 grams. A silver quarter from the previous year weighs 6.25 grams. That may not sound like much, but for a collector, it's the difference between ordinary and extraordinary. Use a precise digital scale. Even a small deviation can reveal something big. Then, examine the details. Is the strike weak or unusually sharp? Are there signs of doubling on the date or lettering? Is the coin slightly off-center or oddly shaped? These are clues that can lead you to a rare and valuable piece. Now, you might be wondering, has anyone actually found one of these rare 1965 quarters? The answer is yes, and when they show up, they make headlines. Collectors, dealers, and auction houses have all confirmed the existence of a few extremely rare 1965 quarters that were struck on silver planchets, or that exhibit major mint errors. These coins have changed hands in private deals and public auctions for eye-popping amounts, which brings us to the most exciting part of our journey. Among all the 1965 Washington quarters ever found, there is one known example, an ultra-rare coin struck on a silver planchet during the transition period, preserved in almost flawless mint state condition, and verified by expert graders. This coin stunned the collecting world not just because of its rarity, but because of its final sale price. $1 simple quarter. One tiny error. One giant fortune. That single coin sold for a mind-blowing total of $199,000 United States dollars. Yes, you heard that right, not bad for something that most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the ground. Today, we're diving deep into a story that proves something extraordinary. Sometimes, the most ordinary-looking things can be worth an absolute fortune. Imagine holding a coin in your hand. It's silver-colored. It's light. It feels familiar, maybe even forgettable. You flip it over, George Washington's face stares back at you, calm and noble. The words, "Liberty, in God we trust," and a small, simple year, 1967. Now you might think, so what? It's just another quarter. But here's the twist, that very same coin, a 1967 Washington quarter, could be worth far, far more than 25 cents. In fact, it could be worth more than what most people earn in an entire year. Today, we're unlocking the secrets behind this everyday coin. We'll explore the forgotten history, the hidden errors, and the shocking details that can turn a simple 1967 quarter into a collector's dream, one that could bring in a jaw-dropping six-figure payday. So, don't blink. Because the coin we're about to talk about might be sitting right in your coin jar at home. Let's travel back to 1967. It was a time of major change in America. The Vietnam War was raging, civil rights movements were reshaping the nation, and culture was shifting faster than anyone could keep up. But over at the U.S. Mint, something else was happening, something subtle but incredibly important. 2 years earlier, in 1965, the US government had removed silver from most of its circulating coins. Before that, quarters were made from 90% silver. But with rising silver prices, the cost of producing those coins was becoming unsustainable. So, in a dramatic move, the mint switched to a new metal composition, a copper core wrapped in a nickel coating. This was called the clad composition, and it would change US coinage forever. By 1967, this transition was in full swing. Millions of quarters were being minted using this new, silver-colored, non-silver metal. On the surface, these coins looked very much like their silver predecessors, but they were completely different underneath. Here's where the story gets really interesting. To stop people from hoarding coins, the mint took a radical step. In 1965, 1966, and 1967, they removed all mint marks from coins. That's right, no D for Denver, no S for San Francisco, and no P for Philadelphia. Every quarter minted during those 3 years looked exactly the same, regardless of where it was made. This decision was meant to simplify things, but it had an unexpected side effect. It made it almost impossible to trace certain rare errors or varieties back to specific mints. And because of that, when mistakes happened, they became even more mysterious, and more valuable. Now, let's talk about the Washington quarter design. On the front, or obverse, you have the iconic profile of George Washington, a symbol of American leadership and stability. Above him, the word Liberty. Below, the date, 1967. To the left, In God We Trust. Simple. Clean. Patriotic. The reverse side features a powerful eagle, wings spread, perched on a bundle of arrows, surrounded by olive branches. It's a design loaded with meaning, peace and strength in balance. At the top, United States of America. At the bottom, $quarter. A coin millions carried in their pockets, without ever realizing the hidden story behind it. So now you're wondering, what makes some of these 1967 quarters worth more than just pocket change? Let's break it down. There are 3 things collectors look for: condition, rarity, and error. First up is condition. The vast majority of 1967 quarters were used, a lot. Tossed into cash registers, vending machines, toll booths. They were scratched, worn down, faded from years of circulation. But once in a while, a coin escapes that fate. It gets stored in a roll. Saved in a collection. Never used. These coins, called mint state coins, shine with their original luster. And the higher the grade, MS-65, MS-66, MS-67 and beyond, the higher the value. Next is rarity. Even though millions were made, high-grade examples are hard to find. And since there were no mint marks, you can't just go looking for rare Denver Mint versions. Every discovery is a surprise, a mystery waiting to be solved. But here's the golden ticket: errors. In the chaotic years of the mid-1960s, mistakes slipped through the cracks at the mint. Planchets, that's the blank discs used to strike coins, were sometimes left over from the silver era. That means a few 1967 quarters were accidentally struck on silver planchets, even though all silver quarters were supposed to be gone. These are known as transitional error coins, and they are incredibly rare. Imagine that, a 1967 quarter that looks clad, but when you weigh it or test it, it turns out to be made of 90% silver. Just one tiny slip-up during production, and suddenly that coin is worth thousands. There are other errors too. Some coins show signs of being double-struck, where the coin was hit twice by the press, creating ghosted or overlapping images. Others are off-center, broad-struck, or show die clashes, when the stamping dies hit each other without a coin in between, transferring parts of the design onto each other. All of these error types can increase a coin's value tremendously. But when you combine them, a high-grade, mint state 1967 quarter with a major error? That's when things get serious. And now, after this journey through history, design, metal composition, and minting mystery, we arrive at the most exciting moment. Among the countless 1967 Washington quarters out there, one stands above the rest. A coin struck in error on a silver planchet, preserved in near-perfect condition, with verified minting anomalies that set it apart from every other quarter made that year. This coin stunned experts. It passed through the hands of top graders, was authenticated by professionals, and ultimately found its way into a legendary auction, where collectors battled fiercely for the chance to own this one-of-a-kind piece of numismatic history, and when the final hammer fell, the winning bid was an astonishing total of $210,000. Let that sink in. A 25-cent coin. Minted during a time of transition. Thought to be ordinary. But because of a hidden error and a perfect storm of circumstances, it became worth $210,000, and the most amazing part? Coins like this don't live in vaults. They show up in old change jars, estate collections, bank rolls, forgotten drawers. Some of them haven't been found yet, which means the next one could be discovered by someone just like you. So what are you waiting for? Start checking your quarters. Look at the edges. Weigh them. Examine the surfaces for doubling, off-center strikes, or unusual details. And never, ever, assume that a coin is just a coin, because in the world of rare coins, anything is possible. Thanks for watching. If you found this story fascinating, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next incredible coin discovery. Who knows, the next life-changing quarter might already be in your hand. Keep collecting. Keep searching. And keep believing, because your next coin might just be worth $210,000.